Right then folks, so we're going to be installing our first set of modifications on the AUDI RS3 today. I've got a bunch of items that we're going to work our way through, with a big focus being on just making that interior feel a bit more special and in line with the car wearing an RS badge. We'll dive deeper into all of it later in the video, but first let's head over to our good friends at Evolve Automotive to see what we can do about that standard ride height. Right then, so it's been a while, but we're back down at Evolve Automotive and also the home of Venturi, as you can see by the banners behind me. So we'll get the RS3 positioned in a way I can show you the ride height in a bit more detail. It's basically completely stock, and the plan is to lower it slightly with the adjustable springs that we've got on the table. Again, just like we did on the previous cars, the Mark 8R, the 8Vs, I've gone for a set of MSS adjustable springs. The cool thing with these is that we can retain those DCC shocks that I'm quite fond of. You've got an adjuster in the middle for the rear, so that's one spring rate. And then you've got a separate spring rate at the top. At the front, here's the adjuster. And this, we can obviously dial in the ride height later on once we've established how it looks in the sort of base setting. I'm not going to go for the full slammed look. So yeah, big thanks to them. I will be putting a link to that product down below in the description. You could just head over to Evolve Automotive and get it fitted, because they are distributors for MSS. And to go along with that, we've got a set of spacers from the guys at R44 Performance. Also shout out to them. Now you may see 3 boxes here. That's because I've gone for a set of 12 mils, but then they've also sent me a set of 15 mils for the back. That's because what they find is that the back is obviously ever so slightly more pinched. Well, it's quite noticeable in that shot. So I said try out the 15s on the back. If you don't like them, stick with the 12s. Now over the years, I haven't really ran spacers on many builds. I've always gone for aftermarket wheels with the correct offset, let's say. But I thought with the 8Y, I'm quite fond of the stock wheels. And for now, we're not doing anything too crazy in terms of track days and, you know, getting the car all perfectly dialed in. So I'm happy to run spacers on there. And it should look quite cool once we've dropped it with the MSS Springs. Right, so that's the plan. But before we get to work, I just want to take a minute to thank today's video sponsor, Car Vertical. Now, if you're not already familiar with Car Vertical, it's essentially a website that allows you to obtain a full history check on any car. All you've got to do is enter your registration or the VIN. And to give you an example of how it all works, we're going to take a look at this RS4. Right, so as usual, at the top of these reports, you're essentially given a snapshot of the vehicle you searched for. So in the case of this RS4, it's a 2018 model, which is a pre-facelift B9. And it says that the odometer is all good, so it means the mileage hasn't been tampered with. We've got no problems with its financial legal status, but there is an exclamation mark next to the damage icon. So the records tell us that it was marked down as an insurance write-off, but it was also damaged 3 times, which is pretty crazy. All of this seemingly occurred in 2020, so I don't know what was going on there, but at least we've got some clarification on it being a category S, which means structural damage. And the best thing about these reports is if we head out to the photo section, we can see just how bad it was. Looks like mostly a front end incident. The driver's side wheel has definitely taken a bit of a battering, but that wheel's actually not as bad as it could have been. Yeah, I've got no doubt someone can put this back on the road very easily, but at least if you're going to view a car like this with this report, you know which areas to look out for. And as always, I have got my own special link in the description. If you click on that or use the code TRH, what they'll do is they'll save you 20% off your next report. Yeah, big thanks to them as always for their continued support of the channel. Let's get these fitted. So installing lowering springs on an 8Y RS3 is mostly the same as any other MQB VAG car. Starting off at the front, the complete strut assembly needs to come out, so that means undoing the drop link, the DCC connector, the brake line bracket, and of course the main pinch bolt. Hash also opted to leave the drive shaft in place as there was enough clearance to split the hub. And then all that's left is the 3 bolts on the top mount, and then the strut should be free. The MSS kit does come with a few extra components, but it's nothing too overly complicated. It's at this point you want to set your desired ride height on the adjuster, but of course it still can be done in place on the car later on with the supplied spanners. The rear setup is even simpler. You just need to drop the lower control arm to get access to the spring, as it's independent of the shock absorber. Naturally, all the usual bolts and attachments going into the arm need to be undone, and then it's pretty much a straight swap out for the MSS item. Right then, so that's the MSS Springs all fitted up. Hash absolutely smashed that. I just blinked that it was all done. We're obviously going to check out the ride height when it's back down on the ground and adjust it if required. There's a look at the factory springs if you wanted to know. They've done 1,000 miles. So I'll keep hold of those in case we want to do stock in future and go off-roading perhaps. But yeah, these are the spacers now at the box. Usual BIMEC item. So it's going to be 12 up front, and then on the back it's either 12 or 15. I've got the option here, so we'll do one of each on either side and just compare it. Main man Hash. And Aston, of course. He's been bothered by an E46 M3 today, so he's been off camera. Normally I'm just shoving it in his face saying...
Not that I needed an excuse to get away from the VW Audi group.
His favourite brand of car. 15mm BMX come with a slightly longer bolt than the 12mm ones, naturally, of course, so it all matches up. There we go, that actually looks new now. Freshly cleaned centres. So that's 12mm on this side, and then the 15 is on this side, so you can see it's fairly aggressive. Right then, Hash, ready to drop the car? Obviously it will settle when it moves back. That's 15 there, and that's 12 there. What do you guys think? So we can see quite a bit of tyre there. It's not fully poking out, I think you probably could run even larger if you wanted to be a complete stand sort of fella. I am liking the 12 on the back. What do you reckon? 15. Yeah. Yeah, so you see it's dropped slightly. So that's 15 on this side you're seeing. Now ride height wise, I'm pretty happy with that. We may tinker with the front a bit, but I don't mind that it's slightly higher there. The back is pretty much bang on, I'd say, so we'll leave that as it is. But with the rear spaces, I think I'm going to stick with the 12mm, and that's because I think it sort of gives a look that isn't too obvious that it's got spaces on it. I mean, that's 12mm around there. If you look at that, that just looks like it's got a slightly more aggressive drop, but it's not too much. Yeah, I think we're all done here at Evolve, so we'll continue with the next part of the video. As always, big thanks to them as well for the installation, and also the companies involved in achieving this look, MSS Automotive for the springs, and R44 Performance for supplying the spacers. Right then, so first appearance for the RS3 at the unit. I've had a little bit of a tidy up because I had a few issues. We've still got the R36 up on the lift. I had a fly infestation, which I had to get sorted. And then, yeah, I thought I'd get some new shelving and move all the parts into that section. Scirocco's here in the corner now. I picked up some new dollies. And yeah, the CC needs to get out of here because I need that space back so we can actually walk around without bumping into stuff. But yeah, now that we've got the ride height all dialed in, I want to move on to the interior, which, as you know, is a bit of a, I want to say a weak point because it still is an RS3 interior. It's just very bland looking. Yes, you've got the logos there and the honeycomb style stitching. But unfortunately here in the UK, we don't get the RS design pack, which includes all the red stitching. You also get the nicer vents, the steering wheel, and you also get the seat belts in the contrast. Well, they have the red edging on them. Now, thankfully, a lot of those bits are not just a right-hand drive issue. It's actually just a UK issue. So you can actually buy stuff while searching up part numbers and mix and matching and basically make your own RS design pack. So that's what we're going to be doing with all of these bits here on the table and the workbench. We'll start over here, the most simplest thing, a steering wheel. I'm going to stick with the round form factor. Reason being, I don't want to lose the sensor that's built in. It's to do with the lane keep assist. It basically keeps you in the center of the lane. So that's red stitch, just like the OEM one. But I wanted to add in the 12 o'clock stripe in Alcantara. The OEM round Alcantara steering wheel doesn't have that, but the flat bomb does. So it's a mix of both. And yeah, I had this done by the guys at Royal Steering Wheels. We've had a few wheels off them now, and it's always done the job. Next, we've got genuine RS design pack floor mats. So you can actually buy these directly from TPS or your Audi dealership. And yeah, continuing with the genuine theme, this is a set of RS design pack vents finished in red. You can get green also to go with your car if you've got Kyle Army green. And then yeah, we have a bit of a wild card here on the table. Now, changing steering wheels and fitting vents is something that's not that hard to do, let's be honest. It's quite easy enough if you're a bit handy with your tools. What is going to be more tricky and a lot more expensive is retrimming the seats, because of course they are black stitch, and because we never got red stitching on the RS3 in the UK, finding a set of seats is going to be basically impossible unless you got some from Australia or Ireland. Believe it or not, Australia actually has massage seats available on the RS3s. So like I said, it's not a right-hand drive thing, it's just an Audi UK thing. But yeah, getting to the point, what are these here on the table? For those of you who are into your RS models, you'll know that they are out of an RSQ3, the current model. And the cool thing with the RSQ3 is it came with all the RS design packs and all the cool features that the 8Y RS3 didn't have. That's in the UK market, that is. So yeah, we've got contrast red stitching. And we've got this Alcantara. In fact, these seats are a lot more aggressive looking than the RS3 seats. So it could be a bit of an upgrade, you'd say, because the RS3 one's just a little patch there. I was actually tempted to even chuck 8V seats in there, but I wanted to keep the electric option because this car's got electric seats. And as you can see here, we've got all the functionality. I remember when the AY first came out, there was a bunch of people discussing these seats on the forums and whether or not they'll fit. So yeah, I'll just take the risk. If they don't fit, I'll have to sell them. I've actually got the full set. I've got the rears as well. But yeah, those are on sliders, so they're going to work in a hatchback. But yeah, I'm happy to keep these rears in. Yeah, it'll be like a Civic Type R where the front seats are red and the back seats are black. Pretty much the only two things I don't have there on the table are one, the different door cards, so you can get contrast red stitching. The OEM ones still retain this leatherette, so I was in two minds whether to order it. Same with the armrests, so I may get them retrimmed in. Well, if any of you watching can get this exact leather and retrim those, give me a shout. And also the seat belts. There are some companies that do them, but I want to see a sample ideally because I don't want the red edging to just be like a crazy big block, because the OEM one is like a slight fine red on the edge. And the ones I was seeing, they had like the block came up to like here. But yeah, for me, and it needs to be spot on. You could probably get the OEM RS Design Pack belts, but that's probably going to be like £200-300 each. Yes, they are very expensive. Right, so before we begin disassembling the interior of a car that's got 1700 miles on it, make sure you go down and click subscribe if you do enjoy content like this. There's plenty more to come, so make sure you got your notifications turned on, as you won't want to miss it. Yep, that is an M10. So you need that. There's 1, 2, and then obviously going to be 2 behind. Because these are electric, I don't imagine the rails moving much. You don't need to go crazy on these as well, because obviously they're not high torque bolts or anything. I'll take one out now and show you. Yeah, pretty much just like every other VAG thing. So if I just move the seat forward, you can see it reveals itself. Right, so if you ever wondered what the underneath of an 8Y RS3 seat looks like, the wiring harness is actually pretty neat. It goes underneath here. We've got all the various plugs. Sorry for the shaky cam. So there you are, 4 connectors. Does look to be the same as the RSQ3 one, but I guess we'll have to find out. Yeah, time to get this out. Come on, come on. Right, pretty straightforward that, nothing really to write home about, so I'm glad I didn't damage anything. This seat's done, what, 1,500 miles, but barely been sat in, already got a crease. A lot of 8Ys, if you're wondering, or if you're looking to buy one, they almost always have a crease in them. I don't know what it is with the new leather. This seat, I have no idea what the mileage on it was. It was out of a car that was broken for parts because it had an incident, but I was assured the seat is all good, because I was a bit skeptical about the way that that's pointing upwards, whether or not it's bent. But the original seat does that, and that is definitely not bent. It's because this drops into the chassis, I imagine, so that's why it has the tilt, because that hooks downwards. Red, green, and yellow, they all pretty much look the same. They're the exact style, the way the connector looks as well. So I think they'll go straight in. Obviously, we'll find out in a second. But one plug that's definitely different is this black one here, which I imagine maybe the seatbelt buckle. If you look there, that's 6 pins and it's a square, whereas on the 8Y it's 5 pins and it's a thin flat design. We've got green, we've got green, blue, we've got red, and then we've got brown. Now those 4 wires are exactly what's found on the 8Y seat, so I think what'll probably be best is de-pin this connector and then repin it into an 8Y one and then plug it in straight and test it out that way. I do need to order some tools though, because I haven't got any to hand at the moment. But I just had a thought, rather than waiting until tomorrow when Amazon delivers those tools, let's get the seat fitted in or attempt to fit in, because there's no point in me repinning connectors if they don't actually bolt into this car. And yeah, we'll just check if the other functions work. That wasn't very nice, but here you are. That's hooked in. Backrest. That's moving forward as it should. And the rear threads are in line also. So 1 and 2, so there's nothing wrong with this seat. It's not bent or anything like that. Right then, so that seat's all bolted up, and I can gladly say that the theory of the RSQ3 seats working in an 8Y RS3, it does stand. If you compare it to that one, there's no real difference in height. The top section just looks way more special. Those, they just made no real effort. They're comfortable, don't get me wrong, but they just, nah, that's what needs to be in a car like this. If I just hop in from this side, we'll put the ignition on and see if anything occurs. Wow, just sitting from here, just looking at that, it's just conditions come out well. I did give them a clean, so they got a nice matte finish, but they weren't actually too bad to begin with. So yeah, that black plug is completely disconnected. Start it up. Yep, safety system fault, airbag lights on. Turn this off before we gas ourselves out. Cool, at least we know it is that plug. Lumbar works. Right, so now that we've established that all the functions work on that seat, I've also tested out the heating element. It took a while to warm up, but then I sat on it, and then you realize it is fully working. So it's pretty much only the seatbelt situation. Tilt back. So this is quite interesting. We've got 2 yellows. So if you head over to the driver's RSQ3 seat, Only one yellow connector. Right, so that's thrown another spanner in the works. I wasn't expecting there to be 2 airbag plugs on the driver's side. There's one on that side as I showed you. For the rest of this video, we'll get that seat fitted so we can visualize the whole car. But we are going to have to do a bit more work to get those in nice and OEM style, because I don't want to just have warning lights on my dash. There we are. Bit of force. Okay, this is weird. Huh? The seatbelt plug is the same on this side. Okay, it's actually the flat connector like the 8Y. Passenger side. We've got one airbag connector missing. The others have gone straight in. So strange. I've no idea. Look, that'll go straight in. Right, rather than sitting here for the next half an hour and just admiring the seats, let's move on to the steering wheel. Towards the end of the video, we'll do a recap of all the work we've done. But yeah, so far, as you can see, it's definitely looking good. Right, so we've got everyone's favourite steering wheel here, looking nice and round. But what we need to do first to remove it is actually remove the airbag. It's like pretty much any other car. You need to twist it, so we're going to turn the ignition on. The battery's still on at this point. And the idea basically is you want to head to the back there. Once you've turned the wheel, you can see 2 different holes. We want to pry downwards on that little metal tab. And my choice of tool is a 4mm Allen key, but you probably could use a T20 or something like that. There we go. Takes a bit of persuasion. Turn the wheel the other way. Ignition off. Now we're going to go disconnect the battery. Right, so everything's disconnected now, so we can unplug these wires. Oh wow, so you pull this whole little clip out. So yeah, that's the airbag freed. We've got an M12 in the middle we need to undo, and then we can proceed with swapping the trims over to the new wheel. Wheel off. Now the swap over process is again pretty straightforward. I began with the lower trim, which splits apart and has 2 T10s on either side. Then there's some multifunction buttons which need prying out, and then behind there you'll find a torque screw holding each paddle shifter in place. And to finish off, there's a small black box at the bottom that simply slides out. Okay, so these are both looking the same now. The only thing that stays on the wheel is that white connector, which just disappears into the bottom of the wheel. So I assume that is the sensor that everyone's been referring to, because if you look at this one, that's also present. So we can slide the little black box thing. From here it's just a reverse, but I did actually end up encountering a slight issue with the retrimmed wheel. Because the Alcantara has now made it thicker, it meant that the 2 silver trim pieces don't quite want to clip together as nicely as they did on the original leather wheel. This wasn't helped by the fact that there was actually extra material over the screw holes which I had to cut. See, I tried mitigating this by using the screws to help close the gap, which was a big mistake, as they ended up poking out the other side, creating this slight sort of raised section on the trim. See, I'm gonna have to buy a new front RS trim piece, which I've heard is around £80 from TPS, but it is what it is. Thought I'd give you guys a heads up, as it happened really easily to me when I did it. Get this lined up. Feels a lot nicer to use. Is this even working? It's about 50 Newton meters I read. That's definitely 50 Newton meters. Now I've got a torque wrench, but it doesn't seem to be working. That looks about 10 times better. I can't actually stress how different that is. There's a huge panel gap there, which we'll ignore. I need to order that part, so that's not going to happen in this video. Let's move on to the vents next. Okay, now apparently there's a little slot to put the tool into. I normally just pry them off like I do in the old ones, but let's try and do things properly. I think that's the hole there. There you go. Put some pressure from that side, I think. That's RS Design Pack Genuine, and that's just a standard vent you probably get in the normal A3. Some people might prefer this because it's more low key, but that's what we're going for. Easy. This one's going to be a bit trickier. Don't want to damage that trim. Push that way, otherwise you're going to scrape the piano black. There you go. Goes to the left and out. So this trim's going to come off as well, because there's 2 screws holding it together. I think they're 8s. That's an 8mm socket anyway. There we go. Straight in with the new one. Very nice, reassuring click that. RS vents, all done. And of course, the finishing touch. Oh, look at that. 2, 3, and 4. Right, time for a montage. So yes, folks, when Audi UK doesn't give you an RS design pack, you just got to go on eBay, go to TPS and basically make one yourself. I mean, the best bit is when you stand from like this distance and see the red through the windows against this black paintwork. And there's still more we can do. We can get the calipers repainted in red in the OEM shade. That stitching is just amazing. I'm glad these seats are in pretty good condition as well, because typically when stuff is out of a salvage yard, they just get tossed around. That's how the back bench looks, just black stitching. Well, it's not too offensive, and yeah, for the rest of it I'm chuffed with it, to be fair. The floor mats are a big difference. A lot of people just do that and the vents, and it's a nice little way to spruce up the interior without going crazy and trying out seats from a different Audi model. Yes, we are going to have to do a bit more tweaking to get the wiring sorted, because at the moment the dashboard is a Christmas tree. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this first mods video, especially the fact that it's now sitting pretty nice. I have done some miles on the MSS Springs, and with the DCC it reminds me a lot of the Mark 8, because we had the same setup. Perfectly usable in comfort. It is a bit more stiff in dynamic and performance now. You're going to get that because we've got less spring travels, so it's not something that's surprising me. But yeah, what a car. Massive difference compared to the 8V once you got a few tweaks done. Another little cool thing as well, this 12 o'clock stripe, as I said, it's an Alcantara. It matches them as well. It's all just coming together. Yes, some people may still not like this wheel, but to me that's perfectly acceptable now. Porsches and BMWs have round wheels and always complain there. I think this looks good now. Maybe we could even do this in gloss black. But yeah, before I sign off, let me just show you the situation I've got on the dash. So before, when we did the passenger seat, I had just the airbag light. But if you look now, you're going to see every single light in existence. Hill hold, safety system, SOS. Now typically that doesn't really concern me, because on VW group cars, when you disconnect the battery, they tend to do this. And normally once you start moving the car and you drive down the road, it all clears. But with this, it's not clearing. And I tested it last night, the ACC is not working, and all of that's just having a fit right now. Even the hill hold assist when you come to a stop in traffic, that's not engaging. So I suspect maybe that's due to that one plug we've left down the driver's seat. So I'm gonna have to work out what's going on there, or I need to just reset it. I've already had a go at that as well on VCDS, and it's not doing the job. So yeah, I'll have to get to the bottom of it. Let me know if you have worked on an 8Y in the seat situation, because I'm sure if this is happening to me, you'd have the same problem if you was to, I don't know, retrofit aftermarket Recaros in the car. Thankfully every other plug's fine, but yeah, we'll get to the bottom of it. It's a project at the end of the day. But anyway, make sure you drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Follow my Instagram at @TRHams_. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode with some more exciting mods to install.